Hello, Simcha.
Hello, Angelo. Nice to meet you and to be here.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for agreeing to chat.
Yeah, I'd love to chat about this. This is the most interesting topic I know, and I love to speak about it, and I generally don't. So for me, it's a real treat.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you're willing to go into some details about these transformations and so forth. Just for anyone listening, sometimes that's all you need, right?
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, maybe just give us a little background as far as where you grew up, where you live, and something about maybe your vocation or background.
Okay. So my name is Simcha. I live in Israel. I was born in Tel Aviv. I studied filmmaking, and this is what I do for a living. I make films. I was raised in a big family, and it was because I'm Jewish. It was a little bit traditional, and they believe in God of the Jews, So this is how I grew up, but I was never a seeker or a spiritual person. I worked, I got married, I have 4 children. I live now in a kibbutz. So the kibbutz is a very special place in Israel. It's like a small community in the nature. And this is what I do.
Very nice. What can you tell me a little bit about what kind of film you've done? I'm just curious, like subject.
Yeah. So I made, especially I did 2 documentary movies. There were social movies about people who were about to be evicted from their homes. So I escorted their fight against the government and in their small houses, when they're making place in Tel Aviv from a small place that they can take the people out and build skyscrapers. And it was each one of these movies I worked upon, so like 3 years. And I like to write scripts, but I mostly make the living out of working with high-tech companies. So I do a lot of movies for them, like what is their product, like high-tech. Yeah. I speak high-tech language. Yeah. For me, it's a way to make a living. And sometimes I still write. Now I don't write these things anymore. I write different things. But this is what I did up until the point that I lost interest in this. Yeah.
So can you give me a little maybe background into what got you interested or attuned to perhaps, let's say, spirituality or awakening or something more in life than what you sort of learned about being a human early on?
Oh, first, I want to apologize about my English. I know you're used to more fluent people, but you have to excuse me and hear me through those broken words.
Your English is very good. It's
nice. It's okay because thanks.
I understand it.
But I was never a spiritual seeker or person. I didn't know anything about awakening. I didn't know that this is a possibility that can happen to a person in his life. I've heard about people that, like the Buddhists, that they don't believe that there's anything in existence and they are detached from their feelings. And I thought it was very unhuman. I didn't like it one bit. And I certainly didn't try to reach that place or know about that place. And I didn't meditate. I read The Power of Now like 20 years ago. And I thought it was a very nice book that had very interesting ideas. And I left it there because it didn't seem like it has any relevance to my life. and I didn't have the burning feeling that something is missing or that I have to find something. I was actually living my life like I was raised, and I had no questions, really. I was very like managing life and not seeking spiritual haven. I don't know what to say.
When you say that you were just living your life, did you feel a sense of sort of peace in general? Did you feel like you were happy, or did you not, or did you self-reflect on that?
Yeah, I think as a person, I was like everyone else that had many emotions, and I tried to deal with them. One of them was anxiety. I was an anxious person. I didn't live in a very calm place, and everything was like butterflies. I was anxious, and I was like a hypochondriac. You say, I was afraid of illnesses and my illness, and everyone else is going to die. And I was living through these feelings. I didn't let them stop me from functioning, of doing anything, because I said, okay, I'm suffering, okay, but here I continue and I do everything I can. And I didn't think that by practicing my mind, I will escape those feelings. I only tried to cope with them by, I don't know, working or with my children, or just working and letting them pass and managing. Every time they come back, and you have to deal with them, and you deal with them, and then it comes back. So I wasn't a very peaceful person, though people always looked at me and said, "You are so peaceful." I didn't feel very peaceful inside. I'm a very nice woman. Like, I'm very gentle in my look and my appearance. So it looks like that it's like this. But in reality, like everyone else, my head was, wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that. It fascinates me how you can walk down the street past 50 people, and unless you really are intuitive or you spend a moment to really feel into somebody, you may not notice like some of those people are suffering very intensely, and others may be in somewhat of a state of equanimity, but we have a way of sort of putting on a mask and looking like you're supposed to look and acting like you're supposed to act and talking like you're supposed to talk, where we kind of blend in, but it's kind of inauthentic, right? So, I think there's a lot of people, and that's why I do these videos. There are a lot of people out there who are just living that life of quiet desperation, just truly suffering, but they just...
It's wonderful that you do that, because, everyone suffers, and you can see it. Now I can see it more clearly. Even before the transformation, I was very empathic to people, but now I can see it all the time, and they don't even know how much they suffered. They don't even know. And I
was the same way. I didn't know how much I was suffering, but I definitely was suffering. But it was almost like I was so afraid of looking at the fact that I was suffering because of the fear that there's no way out of it, that it was kind of almost distanced myself from my own self and my suffering and my emotions. But really, after that first shift for me, it became very clear, like, whoa, I was carrying a very, very heavy weight around, and I didn't know it. And it was not just affecting me, it's affecting everyone one way or another. So, so I can relate to all that. Coming forward to what did you start to sense when something started to shift or change for you?
Yeah, for me, as I said, I didn't look for something special. So I was living my life, and I was trying to do the best I could under the circumstances and with all the difficulties. And I managed to do that. I managed to somehow be very effective in the way I was working, the way I was talking to people. And I found myself getting stronger because I was not thinking of myself so much. I was looking at others, and I was trying to be there for them, to help them. And that way I forgot a little bit about myself. I got immersed in their lives and the things that are hurting them. And I discovered that I can help them. I think everyone can help anyone if you want. If you see them, if you look at them, you can instantly know what they need. And if you give them what they need, you feel very good. And they feel very good and everything rises. So I was starting to feel very good about myself as a person. So I didn't think it had any connection to something higher, because I was totally in reality, in what's happening right now with the person, with the animal. I don't know what I was doing. So this is the way for several years before the shifts, I started to act that way more and more intensely. And the shift happened after one particular week where all these abilities, it's a good word, came into a test of 1 week that I had to be very, very, very attentive. And it was under difficult circumstances. The people around me really needed me, and I really needed to take everything, all this knowledge about how to help them and to do that. And this is, I think, that week, with everything that happened during it, like made me soft, like took every remaining how do you say this word? Identification. The identification with myself, because I looked at them, not at me, as a person, not like as a thought, as something. I looked at them. And consequently, I don't want to say the word, I was erased. So this week, it was an amazing week. Now that I look back, it was like everything came together. Everything happened all at once. This led to this specific moment.
So yeah, I really want to reflect that and emphasize it a bit. That's amazing, actually. And I think I'm always a little cautious to say, go out there and try to do good and that sort of thing, because that can get co-opted easily too, depending on your conditioning and so forth. But you're a great example of sort of right action or just compassionate action, or really honing into what compassion actually is, seeing past the self-structure of you, the self-structure of that person, and really seeing what's actually there and moving through love. That's what I feel when you talk about this. It feels like a movement of unconditional love, and just really letting the conditional aspects fall away until it's just love, which is really powerful. It's a very, very powerful movement. So much so that I think a lot of us are very afraid of it, right? It's you feel that it's going to take over, in a sense, unconditional love. It's very powerful. But for you, that seems like it crossed you over. I mean, it's really amazing to hear that. It's like the path of the bodhisattva, in a sense, or the path of the compassionate one, or the path of love, which I really like to talk to somebody that has had this happen, because a lot of times the people I talk to, it's a little bit more through insight, through inquiry and so forth. But I want to hear what do you mean when you said, then all of a sudden I was erased? What does that mean?
Yeah, I got the grand prize, and I didn't even want it. I didn't even know it was there. This is the paradox, because it's so funny that the person that didn't do that for anything, I didn't do that to gain something, and I got something so big. And now when I speak about it, I want to give it, and I can't. Because the people, like you said, they're afraid of it because their structure tells them that it's not true, that the compassion will somehow hurt them because of their psychology. I don't know how they were raised and got to that point. So they're afraid of this. and they don't realize that if they were in that place, they would get the grand prize. I call it like that. So yeah. I think that I was basically a nice person in the beginning. So it was a great start because I had a good temper. And I was raised by loving parents that didn't depress me and didn't put anything more on this structure. They raised me so I will respect and love others. They showed me a good example. So many people don't have that example. They have parents that interfere with the natural compassion process. I don't know. So it's hard to get over it because parents are so influential on you as a person. So it's very much connected to how you were raised. So if I didn't have this natural process interfered, I had a better chance to embody it in my daily life. And I discovered that when I was giving to others and living, like looking at them, everything around me rose. I don't know, the circumstances changed. Many people joined. It made such wonderful movement, and I started to see it every time I acted that way. So I started to, tell myself, wow, this was very good. Like you're driving after you did something nice, or I was a teacher also. I taught small children, and to get their love and the appreciation and to see how you influence them. So I was coming back, like, wow, you did so good. You're so, you also love yourself more. And it came to the point that I said, okay, so stop admiring yourself so much. It's nice, but I liked it. I liked the feeling that it got me. So I continued doing that. And then it was more and more natural for me because it felt right. Everything felt right. Not to mention that it really affects the people around you. You really can help. You really can change a person's reality just by looking at him and doing the right thing and really paying attention to him. And then it's such a good feeling for him and for you, because you don't give because you need to give or you practice giving. He knows you really are with him and you enjoy doing that with him. So both of you are rising up. So I didn't think it had anything to do with spirituality, really. I thought it was like good for me. It makes me think less about my hypochondria and I don't know, anxiety, and it was just good for everyone around me, good for me. So I started this is what I did up until that week that changed everything,
So I love it. I could just hear you go on about this because, well, the thing is, once an awakening has happened for a lot of people, and then some insights and refinements beyond that, you do come to this place where it's like it's very hard to see the world in a way where I'm more special than everyone around me. It just stops happening. Like you just can't see it that way anymore. And all of a sudden you really know what love is. It's like, oh my gosh, this person right in front of me, they're as important as anything. In fact, I don't even see me because I'm looking out from this body mind. So you become fascinating to me. And what can I provide right now? If nothing else, just love and noticing and bearing witness to the existence of you. So that kind of love and compassion comes often after awakening and often after a lot of shadow work and so forth. But for you, it was like it started that way in a sense from what you're saying, which is very cool. And a good lesson to anyone listening to this. I wanted to also say one thing. You mentioned the fear of love, or I mentioned it, and then you sort of reflected it, of the expansiveness of unconditional love. I think it does sort of threaten the ego structure for sure at times, but also I know this from experience with certain people who I find they start to taste the flavor of this, or they're on this sort of, let's say, path at first, and they actually do get scared because they start to sense, well, if this unconditional love takes over, what if it changes my priorities? Like, I love my family. That's the number one thing in my life. So the fear is like, will I just abandon my children and go wander off to a monastery or something? Now, from some perspective, it might sound funny, but from other perspectives, like, people really are scared. Some people are really scared about that, and they tend to be very heart-based people. So can you, obviously you have 4 children and you've gone through all of this.
Yeah.
So can you address that at all?
Yeah. It's funny because they are worried about something that will never happen to them if they'll continue thinking that way, because it can't happen to a person that thinks that way. You're afraid of what's going to happen. You already, I don't know how to say that, because it didn't happen. So you're worried about something that might happen. You don't have any idea what it really feels like. And this prevents you from this gives you fear, not to mention prevents you from continuing that road, but you don't know what you're talking about. You really don't know. So that reminds me that before I had it in my head, when I heard about the Buddhists and that they are not linked to anything and they are detached, I also didn't like it one bit. And I think that if I was a seeker, so I would be afraid of it. What will happen if I don't like my children and my husband? I'm a parent, like, what happened? I can tell you, it's funny about my children and my husband, because I don't know how to say it. Because you are everything. You are your children, and you are the screen and everything. So you really are, you look at everything in the same way. It doesn't mean you don't love them, because love is a word that it's a human word, like love, someone loves something. This feeling is not love. It's not love like it. Sorry, I'll close the door. The cat going in. It's not love as you know it. It's a different kind of, you can say emotion, because it's not an emotion. It's a state. And in that state, it's much, much bigger than love. So if I say to my child, and I did tell my 15-year-old girl that I love her like I love the tomato in the fridge. So she laughed and I laughed, because I don't see a difference between her and the tomato in the fridge, Of course, if something will happen to her, I will react like I have to react. But in my perception, I see everything in the same way. But it's much, much bigger than love as you know it. And if you're afraid of not loving your children, I never loved them before this feeling. I loved me. I loved something else. I was hanging to. Now I see them. Now I can really see them. And I'm a better mother. And it's like I don't love them more. I know them more. I know. And then and they feel it. They feel my calmness, and they know it. So I can laugh about that. You and the tomato and the chair, we are all the same substance. But this is the best answer I can give.
I love it. I love it. So my sort of reflection on this is, first of all, I know exactly what you mean, and that's my experience. In a sense, I might say, to really love someone is to really see what they are, and to love a sky is to see what's really there, to see that it's there and here, that there's no separation anywhere. The essenceless essence is the most beautiful thing, because it's so fleeting. Yes. And so to love is really to be emptied out, and to allow to become an empty vessel, to where you can almost not reflect, because all that's real is right in front of your face. And then you become something of a sort of conduit for a something that is sort of beyond the love, the way we talk about it. So with all of that said, even though I know you not jokingly, but truthfully said it to your child, and we both laughed, I guarantee you, anyone that's listening to this, I promise you, your daughter feels very, very loved
I
you
know. I know.
instinctually
I have
all the
no
time.
doubt that
That's what's so
she's
beautiful.
been. If you talk to her, she'll say that I'm the best mother in the world. She loves me, and in a sense, like I more than love her. So this is not the sentence that I said this. You have to see more than what I said. And I hope that people will realize that this is beyond love, beyond the clinging, the small, the human, the I don't know how to say when you gain something out of it. Don't gain anything. It's unconditional love. And you feel it, and she knows it. All my children know that, and all my family. I have a big family, and all the people that surround me, they know that.
Oh, I feel it too.
It's
It's so lovely.
I'm so glad.
For sure, yeah.
I'm so glad.
It reminds me of maybe my favorite quote by Nisargadatta, and he said, "In my world, love is the only law. I don't ask for it, I give it." And that's how it feels. It's just you become a one-way conduit, and love isn't just a hug either. Sometimes it's it's boundaries, and it's a knowing what's needed for what's right in front of your face, or what's this environment is doing right now. And it's a knowing the relevance and the intelligence and love for and the creativity that's coming forth. And it seems to just take care of things so well. So then I wanted to ask you about this difficult week, this very challenging week, and so forth. And then there was some kind of shift or transformation. What was the first thing you may not be able to talk about this at all, and I can't ever talk about it for myself either, but what did you sort of notice happening at that moment? Or do you remember the actual exact moment when this occurred?
Of course, I remember. I live in that moment. Ever since that moment, I live in that moment. So it's a very powerful moment. And you stay there. You live in that crazy moment in your daily life. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience, and it's very hard to transform. I can try and describe it the best I can, and everyone can understand what they want. If you would like, I'll say a few words about the week before, because I think it's important to see where I came from. And then I will describe how it happened, because I know it to the day, the hour, the exact hour, and it was like that. So the week before that, it started very bad, because I have a good friend that in the beginning of that week, her daughter died. She was 22, and she was an amazing child. I knew her from she was 8. And it was a very difficult time, because she was abroad and we had to wait until they bring her home. Like, we waited the whole week until she came with all the bureaucracy. So it's very nerve-wracking to sit there and to wait. Plus, it's so tragic. And in that week, it was like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And Wednesday was a very big event that I directed as a director. It was like 300 people with the stage, and the people coming up and songs, and I was directing it. So I had to do that, even though I was all the time going to my friend's house, but I had to come and do the rehearsal and do the actual event. So I had to stop thinking about what happens there and be with all the people that need me as a director. And it was a great event. I did it. And the next day, that was Wednesday. Thursday was the Bat Mitzvah of my 15-year-old girl. It was a big celebration. And I bought her a dress, and we made all the decorations ourselves at the house. I was so happy. Everyone was so happy. I had to leave everything and be happy with her, because it's not her fault that something else is happening. She needs her mother to be there and to be happy with her and to help her and and I couldn't be like near the things and show her that I'm with her and not be there, because she would feel it. I had to really be there for her. I really had to be there to be happy for her. And the Bat Mitzvah started like at 7 in the evening, and at 10 I had to go out to the funeral because the funeral was the same night in the night. So I thought before I got out of the house, what will I wear that will be good for the Bat Mitzvah and the funeral, because I'll go there, and for the next day that I had the event that I will tell about. So I had to go from the great joy to a very tragic funeral. It was like rain, mud, night, so sad. And then I went to sleep, and at 8 in the morning, I had to get up, and there was an amazing event that my husband is a very good man. He makes cars for disabled children. It's a very compassionate project. I don't know. So there were like 20 special children with 20 cars in like a rally, and 100 people came, and my husband was in tears because it was the first time he did such an event, and all the people were crying because it was so beautiful, and the special children had such a good time. It was uplifting. So I had to be there with the special children, and I was in charge of the music and the people, and I had to shift my attention to everything that happened and really be there and do it. And because I had such practice before, I knew how much it was important for the other people for me to be there. I did it. And so this was Friday, and Saturday, this is the day the shift happened. I went to visit my brother. He likes the nature. So he took me hiking, and we went like for 4 hours on like a nice hill, and we looked at the birds and the plants, and he explained everything to me. And I was talking constantly, like I didn't shut my mouth. I talked and I explained, and I relived everything, and the smallest detail, because he has a lot of patience, and he could hear me. So I emptied everything. Not only I felt everything, I talked about it and like took it out of me, told him everything that happened. And then it was like 5 in the afternoon. It was nice. I drove home. I have a very old car. It's like a great big Jeep, and I like to listen to the radio while I'm driving. So I put the radio, and the sun was like beautiful. I like this sunset. It's my favorite time of day. It's so beautiful. Magic hour. All the photographers love it. I love it. And I was so, I lived it. I talked about it. It happened, and now I can sit back and just drive because I'm doing everything like I'm supposed to do. I can just drive on. And this was the state I was in when it happened to me. And then while I was driving, it was like 10 minutes from my house. There's a nice road that is full of trees, eucalyptus trees, all in the side of it. It was an empty road, and there was a song on the radio. It was a song that I always loved it, an oldie of a singer that has a very warm voice, like a voice of someone you know, like a favorite uncle. Very, very warm voice. And the word said, a white car is driving down the road. Like I was in a white car, and the trees hide it. The eucalyptus trees hides it. Like the words of the song were exactly what was happening to me whilst driving. So I was like listening to it more attentively because everything came together. He sings about what's happening to me. And then, how do you say pismon? I don't know, like when there's a verse and there...
Chorus?
Chorus, yeah. The name of this song was like in a movie, like we were in a movie. This is the name of the song. So the chorus goes like this. Do you remember? We were there like we were in a movie. And he says that like 8 or 9 times. This is the chorus. Do you remember? We were there like we were in a movie. Do you remember? We were there like we were. Do you remember? Like it's repeating itself. And I was so empty and sitting and ready, I think. So it just blasted. It's like a blast. It's like, do you remember, like in a movie? And that was the exact second. I'm sorry, the cat get in. So that was the specific second in the end of the first chorus. That it just exploded for me. That I realized everything I'm saying now and I will ever say, that was the split second that it happened, and then I stayed like this. It was amazing and yet very natural for me. It felt very logical, like I understood something so profound and so logical. So I started to, I remained to sit, and I think from the moment you gain that moment, your movement becomes automatic. You're like I'm speaking, like what I'm saying now, I'm not speaking these words. It's automatically being done. So this way I continue to drive. Nothing, and I drove better, I think, because I do everything better ever since that moment. Because it's a very, if I think about energetic terms, and after that experience, I started to read about it, and I know that like there is Kundalini. I read about it. I don't know exactly what it. Maybe it's like this, like something here. Like I think it was like going from down, like very so much powerful quietness surrounding you, and like everything here is changed in a second. I think like my brain was rewired in a second, like totally transformed. I don't think the way Simcha used to think. It's something different, and it happened like this. This is the best I can describe that moment, because it was very natural for me. I continued driving, and the song was playing, and it reinforced the message. It was after the everything that happened after that moment. It's the same for me. It's the same.
Yeah, I can relate. It gets very, very paradoxical and truly impossible to talk about, and yet it's just what this is right here, which is not anything that contains boundaries. Doesn't contain a solitary self-structure or anything like that. But it also doesn't change either. The weird thing is, even though it seems like there was an event and then this, but it's simply just this. I mean, I feel it clearly with what you're describing. Did you have sort of an emotional outflow at any point, like that felt like a release or a release of weight? Yeah.
Of course, when the split second happened, it's an enormous relief. You feel like, oh my God, what was that? Like the life. What was that? What is that? How did I do that to myself? What? It's like, but you're already in the second state. So it's not like from a personal point of view. It's not like you're a man that is happy that something is better. It's like a general cosmic wondering, how did I believe that reality? How could I see it that way? It's so ridiculous. And all that suffering, I was driving and I was thinking about my friend and all the dramas in my life. And like they say, I laughed. I really laughed because in the radio, when that song ended, by the way, it ends in the words, "She wakes up." This is the end of the song. I swear to you, she is waking up, and he screams that words. It's amazing. I was listening and I said, "Okay, thanks. It's okay." It's amazing because it's. I think everyone who wants to wake up or thinks about it should know that it's very specific to you how it happens. And this is what's specific to me because of my liking to music and this special person. So it came to me in the way that is right for me. So you don't have to look what is the way that it will happen. It will happen to you in your tools and your abilities and your world. It's so wonderful. You're so unique. So why should it happen in the way that it happened to anyone else? So my way was music. I don't know. I think it can come in every shape and size. So the next song after this song was a very funny Israeli song about candid camera. It said, give a little smile, you're an actor. They're filming you and you don't know it. You're so gullible. You're so gullible. Smile, you're in a movie. This is what the song, because I think the editor of the songs put some songs about movies one after another. So you're so gullible, and I laughed. Oh my God, I was so gullible that it's not true. It's simply not true, and I was suffering so much. In Hebrew, you say "stam" for no reason. Stam. It was so something that when you realize that it's not, you can't call it a relief because it's so powerful. It's like the quietness is you, and it's everything. It's like in slow motion. When I got back to the house after 7 minutes after that happened, and I got back to a house full of people, and after the Bat Mitzvah and my brothers, and you have to cook, you have to do that, and I have to go to my friend's house who's waiting for me. Like, I got straight back into business. But when I was walking from the car to the house, it was the first time I felt how it feels to walk in this state. It's like a slow motion movement. It's like you see only the doorknob, you see only the table, you see only the one who's in front of you. You hear only. It's different way of, and it's so quiet. It's like someone took like a loud radio, 10,000 loud radios that was surrounding you and shouting at you in all directions, and someone like pressed pause to each and every one of them, and you can't believe the silence you hear. You can't believe that you can live without that noise. You can't believe that noise was part of your life, and you thought it was okay. You can act that way. You can't act with so much noise. It's only when you know that silence, so you can live. I don't know. I know because most people don't live from this state. I know it's hard, but sometimes I don't. And I didn't know how hard it was until I knew that it was crazy. Living like that was crazy. Living like this is crazy.
I love it. The bit about silence is so fascinating to me because I know that if I talk about silence or stillness, I know how the mind gets a hold of it and what it's something you have to produce or do. But as you're talking about silence, it's also in the sounds. It permeates everything, and it's already there for anyone who might be listening, it's not something you're going to go find. It's in your experience. But I also agree that you kind of find your own way in. And there's something so important about that. It's like you really, if there's something I try to point to with people I work directly with, it's like is really to trust your intuition. But you got to trust your intuition isn't the stuff you learned about yourself, and it's not your thoughts. It's not even your emotions. It goes far deeper, and you follow that in, and don't second guess yourself so much, and doubts or thoughts, and don't worry about what someone else said about enlightenment. It will confuse you because it's not. You'll never have someone else's enlightenment. It's not like that at all. You can only have what's already here. Yeah. So I love the way you went through all of that, and I also wanted to reflect a couple things that are very funny and good. The synchronicity of all of it with the song is fascinating to me. But a couple sort of coincidences is I remember this was 24 years or something ago for me, but I remember very distinctly a couple things really hitting me over the next couple of days. And one was I saw a bumper sticker that said, "What if the hokey pokey really is what it's all about?" It's a song in English that's like the hokey pokey, turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. And it said, "What if the hokey pokey really is what it's all about?" And I started laughing, and I don't think I stopped laughing. I think I'm still laughing somewhere because
it's so funny. It's
because it is just like the tomato is what it's all about. It's so simple. And it's just it's right in front of your face. Like everything is, it's almost like, to put it in like a religious terminology, it's like God is staring you in the face all the time. Just see it,
It's great.
And the other thing I wanted to reflect was the thing about suffering. And this really comes more from the heart is I remember, I don't even know where I learned it because I didn't really know about the Bible. I hadn't read it, but there's a line in the Bible somewhere that said, "Have you suffered so many things in vain?" And that hit me again and again and again, that the suffering was just totally unnecessary. And what a gift or what grace that it just dropped, like gone. And I realized so much of it was like a reflection of how I was perceiving myself. And, but when those reflections stop, when those sound devices, those radios just turn off, you see it was never really happening, which is very strange, but also very natural. So, the cat's here.
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, I love it. What a pretty little
have
kitty.
4 of them.
Oh,
yeah. This is Bali.
Bali, what a cutie.
Bali is a very nice cat. In Hebrew, it means I want this. Give me this. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So how
about?
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was going to ask, how would you say this over, I don't know, the next few months and so forth? How did you integrate things, or was it just a complete natural flow? Did you have challenges with sort of the shift later on and that sort of thing?
Yeah. I think when they say that you have to integrate the experience, I don't know what they're talking about, because when it happened to me, it happened like it was a total transformation, and that's it. You realize everything, and then you have to go and live. Everything is okay. Like it's perfect. I didn't have any problem, and I don't have problems since that day. Of course, I have the daily struggles, but I don't consider them as problems anymore. So ever since that it happened, I enjoyed it fully from the very second that it happened. And I was, I think I didn't talk about it because first I realized that it's something very, very great. I didn't know how to speak about it and who to speak about it with, because I live in my family. My husband is not a spiritual person. And in fact, he's very opposed to all this. Even now, when I speak, he doesn't understand what I want. So, and my children are small, and my family I talk to them, and I tried to say that, but I didn't have any urgency to do anything with it. I could just enjoy the state. The next day, like it was Saturday, and Sunday I had a shooting day. I had to go to a high-tech company and to film a bunch of high-tech people talking about products, and it was like complete something that is not related to anything. And I was and am still, because of it, very, very focused, very sharp. Like I was free to act. And from the very first instant, I was free to act. It was very natural. It's the natural state. Like they say, it's easy to be in that state. You don't want anything, don't need anything, don't have to prove anything. You just do what you do when you do it, and enjoy it, because you have such knowledge about what surrounds you. It's so amazing. So you go in a bliss kind of state, and yet very connected to the real life, to cook and to be there. And this is how I integrated it, if you can call it integration. It happened 3 years ago, this transformation. So I have a brother that studied some Buddhism in his past, and I told him about the experience, and he said, okay, many people have similar experiences. It lasts like a week, or sometimes if it's good, it lasts like, so I was waiting for the influence to go down. But I knew it will stay, because he said so. So I thought maybe he's right. Maybe it will wear down. When I woke up in the morning, I could still hear the silence. We can go back to the silence in a minute. You know it. It's you, the silence. So when you wake up, it's there, and you say, okay, it's here. Okay, so another day in paradise, like Phil Collins said. Don't think twice. Just another day for me in paradise. So I enjoyed it. The integration part for me is the understanding of how ununderstandable the whole thing is. Because in the beginning, I was thinking, I'll go and tell them it's like that. So they'll know. It's so easy. Oh my God. I just have to tell them. And I have to be careful that they won't be influenced so much, and to prepare them. And, and when I started to talk about it and to realize, over the 3 years, I realized how impossible this transformation of information is. And I didn't have the urgency to do that, because it's not like you have a mission to spread the knowledge, even though I really appreciate you doing that in your channel. It's like a sacred task to bring the information to people. You don't have to do that. It's okay. Me as a person, I didn't feel the urge to do that, so I could leave. And I feel that when I tried to say that, I slowly realized that it's so complicated, and no matter how simple I try to say it, and no matter how power I have over the person next to me, you don't know me and people don't know me. And so I say things, they can believe me or not. But if I say that to my sister that loves me, that really wants to understand me with all of her heart, and she can't. So it's difficult. It was a journey for me to understand how much the wall is unbreakable, this wall of talking about it. And this is why I knew from the start, it's only through self-knowledge that you can gain this information. All I can do is tell you about it. And I tell her and my sister about it, and I repeat myself, and she understands it logically, and she can say a lot of things, but the feeling of the knowing, it's so special. Like you said, it's only through the special qualities of the special entity that is you. You have to go there. You have to seek there if you want to connect to this place.
I think that's so well said. It really is. My instinct initially was I would never talk about this. It's not that I was afraid to, but I could actually experience, and I still can basically experience almost like past lives or past iterations that this has happened in. And it's almost like I had energetically learned lessons about how to communicate this sort of thing. And there was this vast patience that came after that. I never thought I would talk about this ever. Everything is perfectly okay, including the suffering around. Everything is fine the way it is. It really is. And of course, my heart went out to people who were suffering, and I could feel that. but my intuition knew it wasn't time to talk about it. I just couldn't, I wasn't in a place where I could talk about it that would make sense or something, or reach that person because it is exquisitely simple, but you almost have to go in through the doorway of complexity of the human mind to reach the simplicity with people on an individual basis. So I talked to someone like you, and it's so simple because you had like a huge awakening to ultimately the self-structure ultimately disappeared. It feels like, and it happened instantly for you. That's very rare. It's not unheard of. I've met a few, but it's quite rare. And it's great, of course. But for most people, it's not like, they have to dig in through the ego, and the ego gets kind of co-opts it. And so you have to talk in the ego's voice, but still talk in the universal voice, and then work with that. And so for me, I didn't talk about it for many years. And then it actually started happening organically in a very strange way. I felt like I was having a normal conversation and people would be like kind of waking up. And then it was like, well, I can't deny it now. They would ask me, can you write down what you said? Like, there's something about that. Then it was like an email list of people. And so it sort of snowballed organically. And it sounds like maybe that's starting to happen with you as well. But it's just one of those things that even the integration of how to bring it back into the relative world, interacting with people, it just takes some time, and it's very much subtle energy stuff that settles, and whatever it does, acclimatizes to this body mind so that it can come forward and speak about that which can't be spoken about. So however that happens, I think it's cool. Now, you do now have videos, though. You make videos about this on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a month ago, or in early December, because my shift happened in 15th to December. So it was like a 3 years anniversary. I discovered that if I'm not speaking about those things, it's the same as if I am speaking. It's also a choice that I'm making not to speak, because I didn't speak for 3 years. So I said, so the thing is, either you speak or you don't speak. And I think because I learned filmmaking, and because I am like a nice person that is smiling, and I have the look to try to transform it in a nice way, maybe I should, because I can articulate myself in a way that people will, I don't know if understand, but sympathize. So I said, by not doing is also doing. So I'll do it. It's very, for me to do that, the more I do that, I realize how futile it is, like to talk about it, how it's really, really impossible to get to the person. But I can get to the person, not to wake him up. I can't tell him that he's wrong about how he sees the situation. And through that, when I speak to him as a person, I can tell him what he's doing wrong as a person, what holds him back as a person. So that's the way to become all the phenomena, because I believe that each and every one is a unique phenomenon, okay? And if you're loyal to this unique phenomena, if you're loyal to yourself, and you do that close shape that you are fully, you express Angelo fully, the best you can. When you reach the state that you were created to, like there's a mold, and if you don't express yourself all the way, you don't reach the mold that you were created. I don't know, they don't say there and here, but like there's a mold of Angelo. And if he's not filling that mold, in that mold, I don't know if it's the right word, but if you don't be the exact shape you were meant to be, then you can't connect to all the phenomena. When you become your highest, most evolved potential, most compassionate potential, most open potential, unfearing, then you become the boundary between you, Angel, and the things that is you and is separated by this thin line, that the line explodes, and you connect. But only when you become the best you can. When you become the best you can, you understand you are not you, and you become all the phenomena all together. So I basically, when I speak to people, I always look at their lives and what's happening, what's holding them back. And it's mostly like you started the conversation, the fear, the psychological things that happen to them and are making them like an untrusting person, like you don't trust the world, and it holds you back, because when you don't trust the world, you're afraid of the world. You can't be yourself in the world. The world loses you, you lose yourself. And there is no need to do that. It's all old habits and things that have passed. You can be now. And fearing, I don't know how to say that, without fear. Live without the fear of everything in society, and open yourself. And don't be afraid that people will take advantage of you, because you have a lot of power. You know when people are taking advantage of you, you can give without fear. And this is what I think.
I love it. You know, a couple of things that I felt to reflect on. One is when you described how I love this. You described how it's actually impossible, in a sense, to teach. You could say in one way is teach yourself to be a no self, or to, teach the seeker what it is that never needs to be sought, or so forth. It's impossible to do that. And from there is where you can teach, because to me, that's a major act of compassion. You're seeing reality through the eyes of that ego fully. Like you're not abiding in the state you've realized. And this may sound like a subtle thing, but it's a huge difference in compassion for what I see with people who are deeply realized, is like, when you can not stand back here in the absolute and just keep pointing to the absolute, which does help sometimes. It can make things click, just like that song. I'm sure who wrote that song didn't think he was going to wake someone up with it, but whatever, it came through. So I think you can point just from the absolute and so forth, but it's far more powerful when you can go back to the relative. You can experience reality as that person that you're talking to is experiencing it, and they feel absolutely stuck, and you can feel absolutely stuck with them, because that's also the absolute. And that's where true compassion comes in, and you totally exemplify it, which I love. Also I don't know, embody this compassion. It's within all of us. It's not something that is mine. No,
it's not. It's just I let it be.
Yeah,
I opened the gate to and I trusted the world to let be, to make it a reality in this world. It's the only thing you have to do there. I think the compassion is us. This is what we are. But some people are so hurt from their lives. They had such bad experiences. So it's harder for them, I think.
That is definitely true. There's no doubt about that. It can be very, very challenging if you have a lot of painful conditioning, repressed emotions, and you've learned to be in sort of survival mode and just literally not addressed your pain and so forth, because that doesn't help you survive. But once you learn to survive, and then you start to thrive, you can come back and experience that. Now, I also wanted to point out something beautiful that you said is like you grow into yourself, you grow into the shape of yourself, or the mold of yourself, or let's say the potential of yourself. I think that's so important. And I really do think a very simple approach, if anyone's hearing this and asking like, well, how would I do that? Well, one of them is they can watch your videos or contact you or whatever, but really it's a simple matter of asking yourself, honestly, what do I fear? What do I fear? And just follow that. Find out, what is it that you fear? And if you don't think you fear anything, then you can ask yourself, well, am I living the best life I'm living? I could live. And if you feel like you're not quite, then look for it. There's probably something there that's a fear, hesitation, etc. And that's a good direction to go in, to start to do that shadow work and feel into what it is that's obscuring this truth that we're talking about that can't be obscured, actually. Very strangely.
I love it when you say, ask yourself, because who will know better than you what your mode is. Because no one can direct you to this place, no method, no something you read, no book. So I also wrote a book, but I think it's like something that I express myself. I don't expect it to help anyone. I expect people to be honest with themselves, to be honest with them. Stop lying to yourself. Stop it. It's not helping you. It's making you like prisoner of yourself, of your perceptions, and you like smaller yourself. How do you say small? To make yourself small.
I don't know. Shrink yourself or
shrink yourself with this fear, and it's not always fear. It's like something you want. Your ambitions. It's like you have things that you have to achieve or parameters you have to meet, and there is like judgment on everything, and you're so busy with all these external things, and you don't remember that within you lies the real you. The real you that I'm not talking about the high state that you are connected to, talking to the best form you can be, the best Angelo can be, the best Simcha. What happened to me? I was the best Simcha I could be. This is it. I'm not a very, screenwriter in Hollywood like I used to dream. This is what I thought the best Simcha will be. It's not. The best Simcha that I would have been, was exactly the one who did all those things during that weekend. I was a nice person. I was there. I was living it fully without fear, like giving myself without fear, doing it without fear. So I think this is the most important thing, that a man or a woman shouldn't lie to themselves, shouldn't adjust themselves to any outer perspective. And the only one who can know who you are, really, the best you can be, is you. And you know it. You're just lying to yourself that you need other things, that you're afraid of other things, that if you do that, something will happen. You don't do what you really want to do. Sometimes you put yourself on hold. You make complex mathematics. And it's so much work to control this. Just if you let it go and be your natural self, just let it, the natural self, your natural being, let it express itself. Don't smother it. So this is the best you can be. And if you do that, your life gets better. Your circumstances get better. Everything rises with your authenticity.
I love it. I speak about authenticity a good amount, and especially as a starting place. What do you really want? Maybe you want awakening, but why? What is it you think you're going to get from that? What are you afraid not to have? And it does lead sometimes to having to investigate the fears of not having more than what you think you do want. As you mentioned, fear sometimes disguises itself as like ambition, like it disguises yourself as what you're interested in and stuff. But if you really stop for a bit and feel into it, you'll see, oh, okay, I'm actually chasing that because I'm afraid, I'm chasing a relationship because I'm afraid of loneliness or whatever it is. And once you start to get into that kind of authenticity, a lot of doors open, a lot of channels open, that you start to move in a way that feels more real, and you'll physically feel it. You'll physically feel it in your body as you move through life, as you do simple tasks. Yeah. So wonderful. I could not agree more.
It's synchronizing with the absolute, because your higher form, your beautiful form, your unique form, your open form is like, if you make it here and there, like there's no here and there, but for the sake of explaining, like if your form here is the same as it is there, like there is no here and there, but just I have to emphasize it. But if you reach the full form here, it's the same as there, and there is everything. So you can't control it. It will naturally happen. You got in sync. You got in sync with it. So you can't prevent it from happening to you. If you do that, you can't stop it, I think. This is what will happen. How do you say this word? Consequently?
Consequence of, or consequently?
Consequently. This will happen. It will happen because it's logical. You're the same. Now you are not the same. You're a person who is afraid of being the form he was meant to be. And I say meant to be because you're not meant to be anything. It's okay if you're in the state that you are here now. This is the state you're in. First thing you do is accept it and live in it fully. Don't argue with it because it only makes you more and more, it complicates. You have to accept where you are. You're not meant to wake up. It's not like a mission. It's not like the Holy Grail. It's a natural process that will happen to you. That this is how it happened to me. So I recommend this method. It's a very obscure method, but it will happen to you, whether you like it or not. If you be your highest you can be, the exact angel that was created in this. So it can't not synchronize, it can't not lose the boundary. No boundaries, because it's the same. I want to say about the thing that happened in the integration process, you call it. So I mentioned that I was a hypochondriac, and it's wonderful for if someone who's watching is a hypochondriac, he knows, this is a very bad thing to be for a person. It's a living hell. It's terrible. It's hard to get out of it. It's like you don't have a reason to live because you're going to die. It's paradoxical. You're so afraid of dying, you can't live. It's terrible. So now this is not the case. Like the the fear of death, it goes like this. And I'm no longer a hypochondriac. So I can see something and I say, this might kill me, but I'm not afraid. Like the pattern is stayed, just like the body stayed. The patterns of the mind stays, but the feeling doesn't exist anymore. So you lose all your neurotic behavior in one split of a second. Everything through that knowledge, when you know what you are, everything else is just the wrong thing that you used to think, and you don't need it anymore. So it's there. It's okay.
Beautiful. I don't have really anything to add because you're just pointing so nicely to anyone who's listening. And
it's so nice to speak about these things because I really do live in an environment that doesn't seek this thing or understand what I'm saying, because I started a month ago. I got on Facebook. I never had Facebook in my life. I never thought I would feel myself talking. I never thought it would happen. So, but people don't know anything about it. So you have to start from really, really the most basic things. And people have so much data in their minds and their perspective. And it's nice to talk about it so openly and with someone who clearly lives it.
I don't know if I mentioned to you, I have a handful of good friends in Israel who are very much interested in this. Yeah, they'll see this video. I'll make sure they'll probably see it anyway, but I'll alert them. I don't know where they all, I think they live, at least a couple of them live close to Tel Aviv, but they're around, Israel, and they may really enjoy coming in contact with you.
Well, you're invited to come to Israel and to visit them in the kibbutz. I will show you the cat and the tractor ride, and all these things.
It's very nice.
Be nice. So I don't have any pressure to take my message to the world. I'm saying those things because I'm expressing them now. This is what happens. We talk. I met you. It's nice. It's so nice for me. It's nice for you. Everything else will happen or won't. It's okay.
That's how I feel about all of this. It's become more and more in the relative sense of my life over the last few years, but I could take it or leave it, to be honest. I could take anything or leave it because it's all just fascinating. You mentioned death, and on occasion someone will ask me about death, or they'll bring it up like hypothetically. And my response, and I don't always say it outright, but my response is always like, that would be so fascinating to watch this body deteriorate and turn into, just to literally disintegrate is the most fascinating thing to me. Not like I'm trying to die, but there's definitely no fear of it. And there's a total fascination because in another sense, death is always here. Death is right in front of my face all the time too. Life and death are not two things that happen on a timeline. They're completely intertwined, and that's sublime. It's a wonderful knowing, but it's just its own knowing, really. Oh, there's a kitty cat.
Now he was jumping on the keyboard.
Well, is there anything else you want to say to anyone watching that because my channel, people are either interested in waking up or they've had an awakening and there's still some stuff shifting around, and the integration process, it's not like you go integrate it, but a lot of times what it is for people is a massive amount of emotional tension and struggle comes to the surface in consciousness, and they haven't the letting go hasn't fully happened yet, but they're kind of in between worlds. That's what people feel like in that a lot. So anyway, just so you know.
What I want to say is, my message is that thing that we are talking about in your channel is, and many people are talking about, and the people are interested in, that it exists so beautifully and so completely, and you can live with this feeling so fully, with an emotion that is so much higher than love. So you're on the right track. You're looking for the most important thing that everyone should be looking. This is my message, because I feel that it's like an obligation for me to say that this situation is existing through me. So I don't care. I can show you that I live like this. You can live like a normal, regular person and just be in that state. It's true. All the legends are true. It's amazing. It's amazing. So the search is great. And if during that search, like you said, all these things rise, it's okay. It's part of the process. It's a very good thing. You shouldn't be so much in objection to them. You shouldn't try to fix yourself and to go higher in the ladder of spiritual, progress. See where you are. It's okay if you have overflown, or your emotions ride on you and you can't control them. This is what happens. You can always say, this is what's happening to me now. How beautiful. This is what's happening to me now. This is the divine oneness with feelings on all over. So this is how it expresses itself. It's so beautiful. And when you realize that everything that happens to you during the process is also this thing. With me, it's already peaceful, but it doesn't matter if I'm peaceful or, very like in a storm. It doesn't matter. The essence is one. This is the essence. It expresses itself to those people who are still searching and feeling those hard feelings. But in its basics, it's calm and quiet. Underneath it, it's the same. It only looks like that for you. So the best thing you can do is to accept it as a very valuable and complete thing. This is what happens. Try to say, this is what happens. How wonderful. This is what happens to me now. This is also an expression of the oneness I'm looking for. Wow, it shows itself to me in this way. Wow. And by appreciating everything like that, you connect better to it. And of course, the best thing, like I suggested in the beginning, is to be there for others. Wipe yourself out through looking at the other people. It's only going to give you the best value you can get. It's only going to make you stronger. It's amazing. This is what I recommend.
I love it. I love it. That's a perfect summary. The way of compassion is what I'm going to title this video.
Compassion in action. You said it.
Yeah. Two things. One is, what is the name, or a few things. What is the name of your YouTube channel so people can find you if they want to watch you?
I think it's Knowing Yourself.
Okay.
I think it's...
I can also put a link as well.
Yeah, maybe you should, because I don't remember. I have three videos so far I made because... no, it's Simcha Lev.
Okay.
Like my name, it's Simcha Lev. And okay. I have three videos so far because it's only been two months. And I try to explain both in Hebrew, mostly in Hebrew, and I make videos in English. And if someone has any questions, you can contact me through the channel or through Facebook. If he wants to ask a question, I'm here. Wonderful.
Is your book available online or?
I'm sorry, but it's in Hebrew because I wrote it. I wrote it for myself. I expressed the ideas, and I don't have anyone to translate it. So it's like for the Hebrew readers, and not many of them are. It's a very complicated book. Like it's full of descriptions about the nature of reality, about time, and it's like they wrote it like a guidebook for the illusory reality. So
I love it.
Kind of heavy.
So as I said, we'll have some people from Israel watching this for sure, and I'm sure they'll want to contact you through your channel about that. The other thing I have a question about is if it still happens or not, doesn't matter. But does your husband still work with children and make cars for them? Does his company? Take donations?
Wow. Yes, the first event was the first one, and ever since then it grew and grew through these 3 years, and now it's like 70 children, special children, and we have crew people all over the country. My husband is the manager. He has the dream to make the community work for the special children. When there's a crew of people, they meet the special child, they ask him what car does he want. If he can answer, he answers, and they meet the family, and everyone becomes like it's very from the community to itself, and it's the most heartwarming thing I've ever seen. And my house is always they come here all the time, they drive the children, they are so special children, and we have a special connection with them. Okay. So for me, my husband is compassion in action. This is what he does. He only is not the philosophical idea. He's doing that so nicely. So yes, in Israel they give donation to this place.
We'll try to put. So what I'll try to do is put two links. One will be to your YouTube channel under this video, and I'll see if I can get a link that I can have people link to that they could donate to that if possible, if we can find one.
Okay.
Up to them. I want to donate for sure. So
I will send you a video clip of those events, and the smile on the children's faces. It's kind of, brings tears to your eyes.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, we'll link all that so people can see it too.
Thanks.
So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I think people are going to get a lot out of this. And you'll probably hear from some people.
It was so much fun. Thank you for having me and for being so open to people all around the world that want to share their story, and they have to find some way to connect to the people who want to hear them. And through your own experience and knowledge and open heart, you can connect all this oneness to show it, the oneness, to show the oneness itself. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's so much fun. Okay, thank you.